How you doing, everyone? It's me again. I'm gonna go over step 4 of how to build a deck. Again, my wife's out of town, so you got to deal with me videotaping myself. Alright, so I believe at the end of step 3 we talked about setting your posts and starting to tie in your floor joists. So again, I've gotten a little further than I anticipated, but I think I can walk you through what I've done. So remember, we set our beams on top of our posts. We got 4 lag bolts in each beam. It's not a very good example. 4 in each beam because we've got alternating seams. So one seam is here, one seam is there, and then behind this board we have another seam. All of these posts are tied into these piers with these Simpson strong ties. So these are the floor joists. On the far end, I've attached all of them with these Simpson hurricane, what are they called? Hurricane clips or hurricane ties, I believe. And then on the house end where the ledger board is, I've attached the floor joists with joist hangers. You want to use, I believe, 16D by 1.5 inch nails, and then for the nails that go into the side of the joist that toenail them into the ledger board, I used 3.5 inch deck nail. So they're spaced 16-inch centers. Once you get all your floor joists installed, you can start setting your posts for your banisters. I'm doing a covered deck, so I had to go up one more level with posts to support the roof. So what I've done here is at the top of every post supporting the floor joist, I have installed 6x6 wood to wood anchor, and that nails down into the top of the post, and then it's got sides that come up that you can nail into the side of your next post. And then it's very important to go down beneath or to the bottom level of your floor joist. And then what I've done is installed 1/2 inch by 6 inch lag bolt that through bolts into the side of the post. Now right now they're just tacked on. I'm going to do a second one at the bottom here. Once I get the beams that support the roof on and I get it tied in to the house and I make sure everything's square, then I'll go ahead and pop a second lag bolt into each of these posts to make sure that it's square and plumb before I lock it in place. Now what that's going to do, you're going to have a slant roof that's coming from the house over on top of that beam that your your rafters are going to sit on top of. So you're going to have that angled force sitting on top of this post, which is going to cause that post to rock back that way. So what these 2 bolts are going to do is keep that post from rocking backwards and keep your roof from collapsing back onto your deck. So very important to have these. You do not want to sit that post on top of your floor. You want to drop it all the way down and bolt it into your floor joist. So as you can see, I've done that on every one. We're going to take a step back and see what this thing looks like from afar. Sorry, I keep a messy construction site, but this is basically it. It's 48 feet long. The roof is going to be about 10 feet to the bottom of the ceiling at the lowest point. It's going to tie in to the top of the house with a nailer. I'm going to run all the way across. My beam is going to sit in the notches at the top of those posts, and then my rafters are going to come from the house out to sit on top of that beam, and then I'm going to plywood it and put shingles on top of it. So let's go up top and take a closer look at the floor joist, at the deck board installation from the top side. Oh yeah, and I don't think at the end of the last video that I had this rim joist installed. That's pretty simple. That's just going to slap flat to the end of all your floor joists, and then you're going to either nail or screw 2 or 3 screws into the end of your floor joists to get that tacked on. My stairs are going to go right here. We'll do another video on how to build stairs a little bit later. Again, this is bolted in to the side of this. Same thing here. You can see that up in there. That's bolted into the side. It's going to keep you from deflecting. Alright, up the ladder to talk about decking. Ooh, alright, so before we get to decking, let's run back to these posts for a second. So as you can see, they sit on top of the first post. They're bolted through the side. They go up, and then I've notched them at the top for a double laminated 2x12 beam to sit on top of. Make sure everything is equal dimensions. If you've done everything right, all of your posts that are supporting your floor should be at the same height. They should all be level. So you cut your posts to support your roof all the same dimension. I went with 11 feet, and then you notch out your top. You sit your beam on top of that. Lag bolts, of course, into the side of the posts, and you should be level theoretically, but we all know nothing's perfect in construction. So once you've got these up, you can start putting your deck boards on. I've kind of screwed up because I'm going to have to do banisters. So if you want to do banisters and a railing, you're going to want to set your posts for your banisters the same way I set mine, and then put your floor around it, and then you can set your banister or your railing from post to post. I've kind of screwed up and forgot about that, so I'm going to have to remove a couple boards in order to get a banister here, and banisters at the far end. I'm going to have to set a couple posts because I can only get 6-foot banisters, or really I want 6-foot banisters. So when you're doing your floor, you want to use the zipper method. You don't want all of your floorboards to be the same length, because what that's going to do is create one seam down the entire length of your deck, and that's basically going to be your weakest point. So your floor is going to help add rigidity. It's going to keep your deck from flexing and swaying on you. You're still going to have to do some diagonal supports at the end, strapping on the underside of your floor joist. We'll get to a video on that later, and some diagonal bracing from your posts up to the underside of your beam. But for now, the zipper method basically entails alternating lengths of deck boards. So you're going to want to start with, if you're running 8-foot boards, you maybe start with a 4, and then the next one's an 8, then the next one's a 4. I'm running 12, so I'm doing a 6 and a 12, then a 6 and a 12. So as you can see, ignore my catwalk here. I had to build that temporarily to set my posts, but if you start from here, I've got a 6-foot board, a 12-foot board, then another 6 and a 12, and it kind of staggers this way: 6, 12, 6, 12, 6, 12. So that way I don't have one seam all the way across this portion or that portion. The seams are staggered, which is going to add additional strength. And I've done the same thing with my double laminated beam here. The seams are staggered. It adds extra strength. So yeah, basically you just cut 1/2 board, you lay it down, you screw it in, and then you you lay a full length board and you screw it into every floor joist, 2 screws. If you're doing this commercially or for someone else, ideally you want to pre-drill your screw holes. It gives you a nice cleaner look at the end. I'm doing it for myself. I don't want to add extra work. I don't really care. So I'm just going ahead and screwing them with deck screws down into the floor joist. But That's basically my task for today, is to go ahead and get my couple banisters set down there, one banister set here, and then start decking the whole thing. You're gonna have to get creative and figure out how to lay your deck boards around your posts. A wood chisel, notch them out so that they sit flush against the post. You might have to go to the underside and nail some supports around the posts so that your floor has something to screw into when it's tight to the post. And that's pretty simple. You could just run a 2x4 and screw. Excuse my cat, he wants to be in the video. But yeah, you could just run a 2x4 here, 2x4 there. That way your deck board has something to nail into right at the side of the post when it ties in sideways. And then on the far end, you're gonna have to lay those and just get creative, figure out how to support it. Nobody's gonna care about what the underside looks like as long as it's safe and strong. So yeah, that's my goal for today, is to get this entire thing decked, and then tomorrow I can start setting beams and order my rafters. So that is, I believe, step 4 of how to build a covered deck attached to a stucco house. Thanks a lot.